What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my 25 Days of Christmas Marathon. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the newer additions to the Christmas film family, Klaus. Klaus, whatever you want to call it. So for me, with this being a Netflix original, I really didn't have high hopes for it. Sure, I'd be lying if I said it didn't look promising with the animation style or just the basic concepts, but as we all know by now, films that are either go straight to Netflix or created by Netflix usually aren't cream of the crop. But in the case of Klaus, that simply isn't the case, because for me, this is arguably a top 10 Christmas film already at this point. With the story, it's pretty straightforward, having a pretty similar concept to say like Emperor's New Groove, but you take that and mix it with a Christmas Tale and a Santa Claus origin story, and you get Klaus. Like I said, surely it has its familiar concept and its predictabilities, but at its core, it's a super fun, creative, and charming take on a Christmas film, let alone the Santa Claus origin story angle, coupled with so much charisma and heart with its heartwarming messages like any good Christmas film has. The film moves at a brisk pace altogether, but it's certainly fast-paced, where it establishes its themes and tones quickly, then moves on to the next important thing to not let certain aspects get oversaturated or boring due to their lingering around, especially when it comes to the exposition. I honestly thought the exposition was handled really well, was given to us piece by piece through sections of snappy dialogue and imagery, then it was expanded on as the film went on. So it wasn't just boring conversation after boring conversation after boring conversation. When it comes to the cast, they all put their heart into their respective roles. You have your select stars in the film like J.K. Simmons and Jason Schwartzman, where they all put their best effort forward. Jason Schwartzman, as our main protagonist and Jesper, is super energetic with loads of personality. He was mainly the big deal the whole film, getting the most screen time and one of the bigger character arcs amongst all characters, really brewing into this really likable character that was easy to get behind and root for. His arc can come off a bit predictable, having that, oh, I could have seen that coming, or I've seen that before, feel to it, but the way the layers of his character flourished and broke down was done so well. The layers to his character would just peel back one at a time and was able to breathe and elevate in each scene. As for our other main protagonist in Klaus, his character probably had the biggest arc and selling point to the entire movie, where again, it can come off a bit predictable, but how his character came into his own, starting off very mysterious and then ending as probably everyone's favorite character due to his arc, is very commendable. It's not easy to make this style of film as an original piece, so it definitely gets a job well done when it comes to that. As a package deal, they did a really great job balancing each other out, having really good chemistry with one another. Jesper was that loud and outgoing style of character, and Klaus was just that grounded and almost kept to himself style of character, but as a unit, their dynamic worked really well, almost like a yin and yang situation. Although this film was fast-paced, there really wasn't much that was rushed with their chemistry or bond, where everything just felt like it fell into place accordingly. And the last batch of characters, which for me is just really one character as a whole, and that's the town and the townspeople. Their dynamic as a whole works super well to clash with Klaus and Jesper, where right away they do such a good job setting the tone and establishing their natural tone shift that this film goes on. Them as a whole as the antagonist was a really smart angle for my money, because it was established straight away without the audience really catching that notion at first, because it just felt more as like a set piece to the plot, but come later on, it naturally built into something that clashed with our protagonist really well. I also really appreciated the angle that they brought as well, because although this film was made for kids, they kind of brought this cheeky dark element to the film where it just gave the film that much more personality. But in reality, they wouldn't be what they were if it wasn't for the screenplay. Again, this film was mainly made for kids, but it doesn't treat like the audience like a bunch of idiots, or has these mature conversations and themes, whether it was about Jesper or Klaus' arc, or the background to the antagonist's feud. But the film wasn't just made to be taken extremely seriously all the time, because there was certainly more of a bubbly atmosphere to it, due to Jesper's character, and also Klaus and Alva's relationship with him, where there's a lot of bright moments between all of them. The film doesn't really try fitting in as many jokes as possible, but that really is a good thing for my money, because I found the film to have really good comedic timing and well-written jokes. Every character had their own personality, so the style of jokes and banter really meshed well. Now, although the film can get by in its plot, and especially the characters, for me, the main attraction to the film was the direction and the animation. When it comes to the direction, usually in animated films, more attention goes to the actual animation, which makes sense, rather than some of the shot selections and shot compositions, but in the case of Klaus, there was some really good flashes of camera work in this. There was some really dazzling wide takes where it showed the great scope of the film, along with some of the rotating shots and panning into close-ups, being one of my favorite shots of the film, to be honest. And then of course you have some of the basic, but not commonly used shots from cameras being up high looking down, or cameras being low looking up. And to me, those are some of the best looking shots, because although simple, they are very effective and bring a lot of life and personality to the film. But as for the actual animation, it was absolutely brilliant. It wasn't like this new age Pixar film where it had all these different textures on all these different things, but it had its own style with that 2D hand-drawn look, while also including that cartoonish look while being enhanced by that CG. There's a lot of good use of their natural shadows and also minimal outlines to their character designs to make them pop that much more, especially when it came to the specific backgrounds, and a lot of that is to do with the color palette. The color palette does such a good job setting the type of mood you should feel in each scene, where the film starts off real gray and glum with all these mute colors, then it slowly transforms into these bright colors to pick up the mood, and towards the last act, it sort of combines both moods for a really clever and fun climax. Overall, there really isn't much to not like about this film. I've already basically hinted at a couple of issues that I had with the characters' predictable arcs and the outcomes, and the plot not being the most original, but other than that, outside some nitpicks with some of the lack of explanation and stuff like that, the only other issue I had was with Rashida Jones' character. I thought she was a good representation of the townsfolk and how they could have changed if they wanted to, but the whole love interest side to it was not only predictable, but really almost unnecessary. There was enough going on to facilitate the plot, and again, it didn't really help with the originality angle, so the film just really didn't need that for my money. But overall, Klaus, whatever you want to call it, was damn great. Right now, I've seen roughly like 70-ish Christmas films, and this one already sits in my top 10, even above titles like Elf, and you guys know how much I love Elf. Klaus gets a very solid 8 out of 10 from me. Let me know what you think about Klaus in the comments below, and let me know what film you'd like to see me review next. See you guys in the next one.